Hi everyone, this is Farina, your English teacher. Some of you know me, some of you don't. For this week's lesson I have decided to make small changes to help you along. So I am sending you two videos, one which focuses on the text of this week and one that will talk about the grammar we look at for this week. Now this one is the one that focuses on the text. That means I will read the text for you so you can listen to it, of course as many times as you want, and then I will talk you through the tasks that go with this text. Okay? Ready? So let's start. Getting in touch through the ages. Nobody knows who wrote the first letter or when, but we know that 4,000 years ago in ancient Egypt, people carried letters over hundreds of kilometers on foot. Very few people could write, so there were special people called scribers who wrote letters for everyone else. In those days, you didn't need a stamp. The first stamp didn't appear until 1840, and it just cost 1 penny. Now, one of these original stamps costs 375 euros. Letter writing was so popular in the 1840s that they delivered the post several times a day. An American company, Remington and Sons, made the first typewriter in 1871. All the letters in the word typewriter were on the top line of the keyboard, so that the salesman could demonstrate the machine more easily. Amazingly, the letters are still in the same place on the modern computer keyboard. In 1876, when Alexander Graham Bell demonstrated a fantastic new invention called telephone, nobody was interested in it. The first fax machine appeared around the same time, but was enormous that no one wanted one. In fact, fax machines didn't become popular for another 100 years. Then there was the walkie-talkie, a small two-way radio first used by the US Army in the 1930s. However, since they weighed over 13 kilos, the talking was easier than the walking. After World War II, they became popular with the police officers. Before, they had to use whistles to call for help. These days, we can send messages and pictures around the world in a few seconds using computers and mobile phones. It's hard to believe that email was only invented in 1971, and the first text message was sent in 1992. Today we send over 1 billion text messages all around the world every single day, and an incredible 30 billion emails. On a personal note, I suspect that since March 2020, these figures have doubled, if not tripled. So this is the text of this week. Here you may see that the first text said Merry Christmas. Of course, you can listen to the text again and again if you need help with the pronunciations. But don't forget, I have an accent too. Now, let's look at the different tasks I have constructed for you for this week. Let's have a look at the vocabulary first, because usually I say after we read the text, we look at some of the vocabulary. Of course, there will be other words that you may not know what they mean, and the best way to go about is, if you want to check a word, use the online learning dictionary, of which I gave you the website in the first week. This is much better than when you just translate the word into your language. Of course, if you need, you can use both. But this English learning dictionary is very good because it explains you the word in English. It gives you the option to click on the speaker icon to listen how to pronounce the word, either in British English, or you can even choose American English, which is of course always a little different because of the different accents. And it also gives you examples of how you can use the word in a sentence. And that's why it is excellent. And you learn much more than when you just use your translator on your phone. Okay, this week's tasks, vocabulary task, is a little bit different to last week's, because I want you to tell me, they are all words here from the text, and I want you to tell me, is it A or B, which has the same meaning as the word here at the side. Let's do the first one together so you understand what I mean. Few is the word. Does it mean A, there is only a small number of people allowed in the shop? Or does it mean B, it's hard to choose, there are so many different colors? So you decide which of those two meanings is closer to this word, A or B. Okay? Now, the next task I have is, of course, as always, I'll give you questions to the text to check how well did you understand the text. They're usually quite easy, but if you didn't understand something, it will show up. So here you have 10 questions, and you just reread the text and answer these questions for me. Thank you. And then I have, of course, 2 writing tasks for you. And these writing tasks, they are what you really have to send to me for corrections, because this is free writing and you cannot correct it yourself, because everybody has a different piece of writing. I can also not send you an answer key for this, because out of the same reason, for the same reason. Okay, so these tasks you really have to send me for corrections. So the first writing task is, I want you to think and to write about how do you communicate with people these days. What is, for example, you can say, what is your favorite way of communication? How often do you use it? And when? And with whom? And I would be interested in knowing, do you still write letters? Or do you like to get letters from your friends or family? Or do you still get letters? Is there anybody out there that still uses this old-fashioned way to communicate? This is the first writing task. And for the second writing task, I would like you to write a message or an email to a friend about something that has happened to you today. If it's just a short thing, you of course write a text message. Maybe you use text language. Remember, it is different. It's shortened. It's abbreviated. If you have a longer story to tell, you will of course write an email, because that can be a bit longer than a text message. And if nothing at all has happened to you today, just make something up. Tell me a fib. I'm really looking forward to all your pieces of writing. Thank you very much. And that's the whole story of today. Now I have to figure out how I can turn this off, which I haven't found yet. So you can stop listening to it. I'm sure I will figure it out in the